Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. I've come after a very long time live. I'll try to resume the activities that I used to do on this very page. I used to interact with you people regularly, and I would bring topics, and those topics would contain information about grammar, vocabulary, writing, and speaking as well. So today's topic that I have brought is on vocabulary. There are a few words that I have collected, which I'll be explaining in this very lecture. So let's move to it. It's important here for me to mention that I'll try to bring more lectures on different aspects of the English language. We'll be talking about grammar and errors in grammar, and likewise some fundamental topics of grammar, writing as well. So I expect you people to stay connected in order to make the most of these informative lectures. So the first word we have over here is an outrage. Now, an outrage is something that really hurts, that really annoys you, or that disturbs you. You can say that the attitude of my boss is an outrage to all the employees. And the second is scandalous. Now, scandalous means someone who is known as a bad person, or someone who has a bad reputation, someone who is notorious, and that notorious person is called scandalous. You can say that in my neighborhood there is a scandalous dacoit, or there is a scandalous criminal, or a thief, or a corrupt person. And then we have a sacred bond. Now, a sacred bond means a relationship that's very, pure, that's very sacred, that's very pious. So you can say that marriage is a sacred bond between two individuals, and they both need to respect it to the best of their abilities. And society is rigid. Now, this whole phrase means it's a complete clause. Society is rigid. Rigid means not flexible, conservative, narrow-minded, very much orthodoxical. So believing in some fixed notions, fixed beliefs, or some fixed stereotypes. Now that society is referred to as rigid. The people are kind of changing these days, but if you move back to earlier times, there were societies, or there were communities, there were people, that were extremely rigid. But right now, things have changed, to a greater extent. People are now becoming more adaptable. They become more flexible. They're no longer that much rigid. But I think it's a welcoming development. We need to be, adaptable, and we need to be flexible. It's never good to be rigid. It's always, appreciable when you are adaptable, when you are, just flexible, and so you can move up the social mobility ladder. I think it's really important. Cast a very eye on something. Now this means to be very watchful, towards someone, or to keep a watchful eye on someone in order to be aware of what he or she does, or what he or she is doing. So that means you are keeping a very eye on that very individual, or on that very person. A whistleblower. A whistleblower is someone who is an informer or an announcer. For instance, when COVID-19 erupted, when that pandemic broke out in China predominantly, and then that's where it started spreading all over. From that point, from that very point, it started spreading all over the world. Initially, the Chinese government tried very hard to, keep a lid on it, in order to conceal it and hide it, the origin of that very, pandemic. But there were some whistleblowers in China. There were some people, some media, persons, and likewise, who started speaking out to the world about that very pandemic. They started informing the world about the pandemic and about the kind of atrocity that the pandemic was wreaking on China at that time. So, and the primary aim of those whistleblowers was to inform people, to keep people updated. That's it, right? Denounce means when you do not approve of something, when you condemn something. Pliable means someone who is flexible, right? Something bred into someone. And now when something is bred into someone, that means something is deeply rooted in someone. You can say that patriotism is bred into us. So that's it. Palatable. Now, palatable means something is very tasty or very much appetizing, mouth-watering. Irrepressible, something that cannot be reversed. So you can say that, the memories of the time that is past or the decisions that have been taken are irrepressible or irreversible. You cannot do anything about the actions of the past, or there are certain kind of emotions that you cannot repress them or you cannot suppress them. They are irresistible. That's what it means. And then we have abandon. Now, when you abandon something, you leave something, you relinquish something. For instance, if you are used to smoking, and then there comes a time when you decide, I'm not going to smoke anymore, and you kind of abandon smoking. You give up on smoking. You relinquish smoking, and that's what it means. And this is a verb. Now, I'm talking about the parts of speech of this very word. And another word which is abundant, same word, but it is a different part of speech. This is an adjective. Now, this means something that is been, just thrown away, or that has been, forsaken, or that has been relinquished, or that has been, just left by someone. An abundant house, an abundant child, an abundant car. Abate means something that is decreasing, right? So you can say that the inflation is not abating in our country. Abdicate means to not fulfill your duty or your responsibility. Abhor means to hate something, to despise something. Abhorrent means something that you don't like. Corruption is abhorrent to me. Abide means to act upon something, to follow something, to obey something, to comply with something. And abiding means long lasting. You can say, I have an abiding interest in reading books. You have an abiding interest in politics. Ablaze means when something is on fire. Abominable means something that deserves hatred. Abolish means to, just destroy something. To end something. We need to abolish hunting because that's not fine. All right. I hope you all enjoy this very lecture on some of the very important words that I have discussed in this lecture, but I want you all to stay tuned, for more lectures, for more activities on this very page. Thank you very much. Stay blessed.